Hello and welcome. My name is Campbell and this is Spiral Up channel, where we talk about practical everyday things you can use to improve your life and experience and get more of what you want. And today I wanted to talk about fear and the fact that it is really just false evidence appearing real. So let's jump in. So they say fear is false evidence appearing real. And it definitely is. Now, obviously, there are times in life where fear is real and justified. Like if someone is threatening you with physical violence, then that is fear. That's when you can be fearful. Because the thing about fear is fear always enacts the response of fight or flight. And that's what it's for. So literally, it's there if we're in physical danger. It's the mechanism that puts us into fight or flight and saves us. We either run away or we fight. And the problem with fear today and what is happening with things like the MSM and the information that we've been given and censorship, and the fact that we're just given really one narrative, through the education system, what they're doing at the moment is they're pumping a lot of fear to do with bugs, beer bugs. They're getting people to wear things on their face, and they're talking about jabbing people. And this is all creating fear, because at the moment we have something that we're supposed to be scared of, but we don't know what it is. We can't defend against it. It's completely random. So we cannot fight or flight. And this is the problem. So when you can't actually react in fight or flight from fear, what it does is physically it makes you much more susceptible to illness when you're living in fear. Mentally, it creates open loops that you cannot shut. And this creates stress. And it creates a stress that spirals you down, because it just keeps showing you more of the same. And especially when it's being pumped out on a daily basis at us, all this fear, people are spiraling down. And we just need to look around at what's happening at the moment with mental health issues and suicide. There's a massive problem going on that is not even being talked about. The reason is that people are getting into these loops because they are getting so fearful, but there's nothing they can do. They cannot run, they cannot fight. And so they sit there and they just go over and over it in their head. And this, of course, makes people spiral down. So fear is actually, it's false evidence appearing real, because the truth is that there is no threat. What they're telling us there is, because if you look at the statistics, no one's dying. Which means this is just a fear campaign. And as I said before, there's nothing to fight and there's nothing that we can run from. There's no fight or flight. And it's to the point that this is something that can't be pinpointed, that is completely random, what we're going through at the moment. But in more general terms, it's the same thing. They love to pump at us that, how many home invasions there have been. And so people sit there and they're worried that someone might at some point in the future break into their house, but there's nothing they can do about that. They can't fight someone that's not there yet or do anything. So it's false evidence, because, like I said, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. And, it most probably won't unless you sit there and focus on it all the time. So the way to deal with fear is to understand that it is not real. What fear is using your imagination to visualize something you do not want. That's really what fear is. And it can also be turned into affirmations if you're talking about internal dialogue. But fear is something that, unless it's in front of you and you can see it and deal with it, it does not exist. It really doesn't. It only exists within your head. And this is the problem. We build up these fearful things and they don't even exist. They don't. How many times have you feared something and it's worked out exactly the way you thought it would? I'm guessing never. We have all these fearful, thoughts and visions and of what might happen. And then when we get into the situation, it's never that bad. But for some reason, we keep going on in life thinking that things are going to be bad and being fearful. And as an example, I remember when I was younger, the first time I had to do public speaking, and I just remember all these people saying, "Oh, aren't you nervous? Aren't you nervous? But you'll be all right. Aren't you nervous?" And everyone just assumed that it would be a bad experience for me because it was public speaking. Why is that? Because we're told, right? Public speaking is the number one feared thing to do. Or is it number two behind death? I can't remember. But it's definitely up there. But why is it up there? And is the only reason that we are fearful of public speaking because we believe we should be, because we've been told we should be? Is it more false evidence appearing real? Because I remember people, they're all, sort of worried, like, "Oh, it'll be okay, don't be scared." And I just remember thinking, am I supposed to be scared? And then it just hit me, hang on, this isn't real. Because I'm not scared. And these people are saying, "Oh, but it should be a fearful experience and you should be scared and it's going to be bad." And I just kind of realized that all that information, they were just rabbiting, just repeating what society says. And as long as we just go along and believe what society says and do what society tells us we should do, then basically one, we're not living our lives, but we're putting ourselves in a state where we're not making the decisions. And so we're out of power. And we put ourselves in a place where if people tell us things that scare us, then we end up in a place of fear. But if we come from a place of looking at things and understanding there's different perspectives, doing some research and getting facts on things, then we can alleviate that fear. Like I mentioned before about home invasion. The news loves to tell you how many, violent home invasions and all this kind of stuff are going on. But if you actually look into it and look at the stats, it's pretty low. Depending on where you live, but most places it's pretty low. It's just all false evidence appearing real, put into us to make us fearful. So do not buy into fear, guys. Have a look at it for what it is. Information is just information, and you can choose to be scared by it if it's bad, or you can choose to get some more information on it and look into it. Or you can choose to just ignore it if it has nothing to do with you, because this is another thing. There's so many things that are thrown at us and as fear, but they've really got nothing to do with us, do they? They don't. We hear all this stuff all around the world, and it's got nothing to do with us or our reality. That's why you shouldn't watch the news, because it's just filling you up with fear, and this might happen and that might happen. And just imagine, how would the current situation be affecting you if you didn't have access to TV, media, or the internet? So basically, you wouldn't have heard about what's going on in the world. Would that change the way that you act, that you're acting today? Would it change the way that you're feeling about the world and what's going to happen? I'm thinking it probably would, because you wouldn't have the fear, and it's just proof that it's just false evidence. If you hadn't heard about all this stuff and it wasn't affecting you, then you'd have no fear. So this is only stuff that is being projected at us to make us fearful. And fear is, of course, their number one weapon. And when I say them, they, it's those who wish to control us, who have got themselves into positions of power where they literally can make decisions that affect our lives, and mainly in a negative way at the moment. So don't buy into fear, because it's their biggest weapon. And the thing is, they're trying to tell us that this year is bad and the world's ending and everything's going to crash. But the truth is, guys, it's not. The opposite is happening. Look around. People are waking up. People are doing things. people are starting to, lift the veil and have a look underneath it, and starting to see reality for what it is, and this society for what it is. And so big things are happening. So don't buy into fear, because it is 2020, perfect vision, the dawning of the age of Aquarius as well, on December 21st. There is an eclipse, and it is on the solstice, and there's a big planetary alignment, and people are calling for big things. And as we can see, things are changing very quickly in the world. So good things are coming, guys. They really are. But if we buy into fear, then I can't guarantee the good things are coming, because, again, we create what we want. And at this point in time, we get to choose to live in fear and to keep things the way they are, or we get to choose to go another path, to do some research, to believe in our power, to believe in possibilities, and to ignore all the fear that is thrown at us, and see it for what it is, which is just false evidence appearing real. It's just there to scare us. It's all a show. So don't buy into it. Understand the power's in you, and as long as you stand in that power, you'll be fine. So I hope that made sense, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll talk to you all in the next video. Bye for now.